we go. Woo! 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 Yeah.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day.
Anthony Del Toro. First one we see this morning. Oh, I got to mute for our evil overlords. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg.
Now, Chris Duel.
The madness has begun. Oh my goodness gracious. So many upsets already on day one of the tournament, including down goes Kentucky. Sorry, Coach Cal. You had a 15 seed winning. You had two 12 seeds winning, and you had an 11 seed winning. That was just yesterday. That was just day one of March Madness. If that's not enough for you, how about a blockbuster trade in the National Football League involving arguably the best wide receiver in the National Football League? So much to talk about this morning. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney on a Friday morning. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist. He's making the show go. He is mockingly wearing the colors of one of the blue bloods the blue blood that went down yesterday. Well, technically you could say Indiana used to be a blue blood, but when I say blue blood, I really mean blue blood this morning. But what everybody wants to know, listening to the radio right now, in their cars, in their homes, on the International Space Station, on the free iHeartRadio app, on our live video feed, Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, the one Irish person officially among all of us. We know that she was going to drink what Bushmills Black Bush Irish whiskey. A, how was your thing? How was your St. Patrick's Day? B, how much did you imbibe? And C, how are you feeling this morning?
I feel good, Chris. I didn't go as hard as I didn't go as hard as I thought I would. So I'm feeling okay. You know, I took it easy. I got caught up in basketball. I got caught up in not wanting to leave the couch, not wanting to be too out of things. It's a long day of basketball. Yesterday, it's going to be another long day today, but I definitely enjoyed myself yesterday, given the holiday.
Now, of course, the big stunning upset yesterday, some place called St. Peter's, and I'm going to have to Google them or get one of you to tell me where the hell is St. Peter's.
Hell, I don't know.
But St. Peter's defeated Kentucky. A 15 seed defeats a 2. That's about as rare as a total solar eclipse. By the way, April 8th, 2024. We're now 2 years away from that one. St. Peter's, the 15 seed, 85. 2 seed Kentucky, 79. Shannon, does that count? I mean, unless you didn't know anything about basketball and we're just picking Saints in this tournament bracket, does this mean everybody's bracket is busted who had Kentucky? How do you regard this big day one upset?
I think I saw that via the 4-letter network, there are only 700 something brackets that have not yet been busted because of this Kentucky loss. I myself had Kentucky going to the Elite Eight. I guess, you don't mess with the Peacocks, sir. I mean, they're beautiful, they're majestic, but they've got quite the calling. If you've ever heard of Peacock, there's a great place in Austin where you can actually check them out. But who knew? A great upset. I think not one that a lot of us picked. Obviously, not me. I did call a couple of upsets that went my way yesterday. Didn't get all of them. It was exciting to see some 12s beat a 5s, but I got to be honest. I go to lunch yesterday. My one requirement was that there be TVs. That box was checked. The first game of the day was that Michigan game against Colorado State, and Michigan and a number 11 seed against Colorado State. I had picked Michigan to win, and it was not looking pretty early for Michigan. And I thought, oh my gosh, the first game, and I'm already going to have a busted bracket. It's going to put me in the mood for the rest of the day, for the rest of the tournament. But ultimately, they ended up pulling it out for me. And so, via our poll question today for the Chris Duel Show, Ticket 760 and AM13 on his own Twitter, we are asking what condition everyone's bracket is in right now. So I had to go with the not bad selection because I'm not perfect. But I think I got a couple of the upsets right, and obviously that Kentucky being in my Elite Eight hurt my bracket as a whole points wise going forward. But I feel okay, Chris. I honestly feel okay. I think in our Chris Duel Show pool, I am in 6th place, which is technically like 2nd place. But you, sir, right now are tied for 1st place with 13 correct games yesterday. How do you feel about yourself this morning?
Well, I think that's very misleading because I'm looking at my bracket right now, Shannon. I had Kentucky going to the Final Four. So that Kentucky loss killed me. I thought I trusted in Kentucky in the brand. I trusted in John Calipari. We talked about him and we talked about his daughters yesterday. So I'm my bracket's busted. I do believe. I mean, obviously, I still have a shot at the national championship game. I've got Gonzaga versus Arizona. As I do look at the Eastern Regional where I had Kentucky going to the Final Four. Very early on, I had them meeting Texas in the Sweet 16. So as I see you, Shannon, this morning on the live video feed wearing your burnt orange Texas Longhorns warm-up jacket, I got to believe the loss of Kentucky, Texas has to be very, very happy. If Texas can beat Virginia Tech and just keep on keeping on, they would now avoid Kentucky in the Sweet 16 if they get that far. So in a weird way, and I'm obviously pulling for the Longhorns to go as deep as they can, that loss to Kentucky, unless you really believe in St. Peter's, that loss by Kentucky is a good thing, I think, for the Longhorns.
Yeah, I like you had the meeting in the Sweet 16 and ultimately Kentucky getting the better of them. I think today, obviously, Texas will take on Virginia Tech. That is task number 1 at hand. That game will tip off at 3:30 Central. But the 1 o'clock game today will be important for Texas, as that is Purdue v. Yale, and they will play the winner of that one should they win their game today. And they've obviously got to get past them in the round of 32 before we start talking Sweet 16 and the chance to take on the Peacocks, perhaps.
All right. Yes. Let's check in with Jeremy Kolok, who Jeremy is wearing Kentucky Wildcat blue this morning. If you're on the live video feed, you can see him. You can see all of us. We stream live video on Facebook Live, on Twitter, on YouTube. Jeremy, your thought? How is your bracket? What's the condition of your bracket? And how are you feeling about March Madness after day number 1?
Yeah, the Kentucky loss took down my bracket just as both of y'all, and I'm sure everyone listening, unless there's one random person listening that is one of the 700 and something brackets that Shannon mentioned. But I've got to think those are all alumni and students of St. Peter's University.
Or people who don't know, people just picking randomly who don't know what they're doing.
That like peacocks because they've seen cool stained glass peacocks in Graceland or whatever, which is a thing. But no, I had a good day as a college basketball fan, and I woke up today a little bit earlier than normal, believe it or not, and I was like, "Hey, man, let's do it all again today. Second verse, same as the first."
Yeah, and man, if today is anything like yesterday in the NCAA tournament, it is going to be crazy. And as Shannon alluded to, Texas Longhorns, 3:30 this afternoon. They will go. My beloved USC Trojans, I think, go just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. So I will be locked in television-wise to that. And if only 700. I mean, that number, Shannon, at the 4-letter network, I believe is in the multiple millions. I would have even thought, more than that. I would have thought more people have, like office pools with people who, as Jeremy mentioned, just pick mascots and don't even know that much about picking the games. That number of only 700 picking St. Peter's in that group of brackets, that multi-million group of brackets, that's remarkable. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you have to figure one of those 700 brackets, and the person filling them out was kind of like, they probably have a hatred for Kentucky, right? They didn't actually believe that St. Petersburg would beat them and then beat them in the way that they did, right? I mean, that score 85-79, I think for a Kentucky team, you'd think if they were to lose to a 15, it would be a 1-point game, a 2-point game, but a 6-point game at the end of it with, you got to think that there's a little bit going on in the mind of whoever decided to take Kentucky out at the first round.
Now, we will talk a lot more March Madness this morning, of course, because we should. And by the way, the first game of the day, 11:15 on CBS, Ohio State versus Loyola of Chicago, which, of course, is Sister Jean. So we'll get into all of that. We'll walk through the games. Texas Tech in action early today at 12:45. Texas, as we mentioned, at 3:30. Coach K tonight. Duke against Cal State Fullerton, a 2 versus a 15. Houston, the Cougars in action later tonight as well, taking on UAB. So, and TCU, if we're going to talk Texas schools, I can't forget about TCU. They take on Seton Hall a little bit later tonight. But Shannon and Jeremy, if it weren't for March Madness and that St. Peter's upset of Kentucky, Davante Adams to the Raiders, to me, just a mind-blowing trade. I'm now reading a lot of the analysis on that, and apparently the more that I read, the more it appears that Davante Adams just was not going to re-sign with Green Bay, even if they franchise tagged him. He was not happy there. He wanted out. He wanted to get paid big. And as a result of this trade, he does get paid big by the LA Raiders. The Raiders send their first-round pick and second-round pick in this year's draft to the Green Bay Packers. I'm even hearing that Aaron Rodgers, before he signed with the Packers, I thought they were inseparable, Shannon, that he even knew or probably knew that there were irreconcilable differences between the Packers and Davante Adams. And now he goes to the Raiders to team back up with Derek Carr, who was his quarterback back at Fresno State. So much to unpack, and we'll do it throughout the morning. And Coach A, Paul Alexander, will talk a lot of football with us just after the top of the hour. But Shannon, your thoughts on this blockbuster Davante Adams trade to the Las Vegas Raiders?
You mentioned that it seemed like Aaron Rodgers knew that between the Packers and Davante Adams, there were maybe some irreconcilable differences. But I think Aaron, being Aaron and what he's just been through the past 2 years, probably thought, but that can change, right? That doesn't mean it's officially over. Before Aaron signed with the Packers or even announced that he was going to stay with the Packers, he posted those Instagram photos of him being in between Randall Cobb and Davante Adams, and then one where he was not around them. It was just the 2 wide receivers. I don't know if that was, a lot of people read into that as to what that meant for Aaron. And maybe we're looking back at that now and looking into what it means for Davante. It's just interesting that the Packers, they gave Aaron Rodgers what he wanted personally, but as far as what he's going to be left with on the field, you don't know if that's ultimately going to be enough to get him to where he'd like to go, which is another Super Bowl and another Super Bowl win. For the Raiders side of things, I feel like that first round pick could end up being a lot, not to mention the $28.5 million a year that he's going to be making as a 29-year-old wide receiver in the league. But given that division, I mean, it's like go all in or go ahead and accept your fate that you're not going to make the playoffs. So I kind of ultimately like the move for them. And it certainly helps. I mean, the chemistry you'd think would automatically be there for Derek Carr and Davante Adams. And Derek Carr, when they got rid of Amari Cooper, they kind of got rid of their big name weapon. And so now having him back in the fold, I think brings them into competition with the rest of their division, given everything that's taken place in the last week. That really evens out that division. And if I'm Kansas City, I'm starting to think, wait a minute, is our time already over? Because it's going to be a lot harder just to get out of our division, much less get through the playoffs with the other AFC teams that are on the rise.
Yeah, Davante Adams now becomes far and away the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, way ahead of DeAndre Hopkins. And Tracy Bogert on our live video feed makes the point Davante Adams now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. It's crazy numbers. Jeremy Kolok, your thoughts on Davante Adams to the LA Raiders?
Well, I've always, not always, but I've long time been a believer that I think Davante Adams is the best wide receiver in the NFL, which is, that's a statement where it's like you can't go wrong with so many, DeAndre Hopkins, whatever. And there's like a level that separates a few guys from the rest of the good receivers, like the Amari Coopers and whatnot. And I think that Davante Adams is above that line, obviously, because I think he's the best receiver in the league. So I'm excited to see him without Aaron Rodgers, to be honest, see what he can do. And do I normally want to pay wide receivers, especially as a Cowboys fan with all of our history going on in that situation? But no, I don't. But paying Davante Adams, absolutely worth it, in my opinion. Best receiver in the world.
Yeah, and I think Derek Carr has never gotten the respect that he deserves. And I always kind of pull, especially last year with Gruden imploding and the Henry Ruggs III debacle, awful death resulting automobile accident. I'd like good things to come Derek Carr's way. And I think it'd be good for the league if the Raiders in Las Vegas were a winning team. I know they went to the playoffs and lost in the first round of the Cincinnati Bengals in a close one last year, but that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And conversely, as you both mentioned, what do the Packers do? Some draft picks now, if you can score, if you go draft a wide receiver in the first round and get as lucky as the Cowboys got on CD Lamb, maybe you make up for that. And then you've got a really good rookie wide receiver on a rookie contract for a few years, which could be fiscally sound for them. We'll get into all of that. Lots of March Madness to talk about. Major League Baseball, we are still on Carlos Correa watch. We are on Deshaun Watson watch. Deshaun Watson has narrowed it down to 2 teams. We will get into all of that. And of course, as I mentioned, Coach A, Paul Alexander, talking all things football and more with us in just over a half an hour at the top of the hour. We are giving away final day. We're going to give away NASCAR at Circuit of the America passes for all 3 days. That's what that pass is good for. March 25th, 26th, 27th. We'll give you a keyword at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. You can join us on the live video feed. You can listen on the free iHeartRadio app, where now you can instantly send us a message. There's a red microphone button at the bottom of that screen. You send it, we get it. We probably play it on the air. Shannon Salty Shakedown coming up in the 7 o'clock hour as well, along with sports history and sports birthdays. The madness rolls on. It's the weekend. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Kolok making the show go till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. All right, who do we got? Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the live video feed. Anthony Del Toro got in here first that I see. Hector Gomez, Tracy Bogert, Sam Tobias, Wes Perkins, Luisa Alanis, Jerry Lauder. Jerry and I go back to the River Center Comedy Club. Gosh, what was that, like 1994 or 3? Kevin Monk, the Calipari daughters were out there distracting the wrong team. Good man. Louise Locker, look at that. Elf Louise. Louise Locker is in here. Hello, Louise. Always love seeing you in here in the morning. Louise, you've been putting up some very thoughtful, meaningful, inspiring posts on. You always do, but I've noticed them a little more frequently on Facebook lately. Carl Fisher, welcome. Jill Kolok Walter. Look at that. And Jeremy said hi, Jill. So Jeremy saw your message. Carl Fisher, Sam Tobias. Okay, I am going to go get some coffee because God knows I need it. All right, back in a sec. I got my coffee. I've got my big old Strato tanker of coffee. I saw it's probably still out there. There's a great looking full moon that I saw as I came in this morning. It was pretty amazing. Thank you, Jill. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everybody. All right. I am getting some coffee. I've got it. I just need to heat it. Thank God for microwaves. Woo! 1994, Jerry. I've known you since 1994. How crazy is that? Oh. There you go, Wes Perkins. Tank up on that coffee, man. Woo! Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, Carl Fisher says more spring training games and still Carlos Correa does not have a team. I mentioned yesterday, it's almost like, if you're an attorney and the jury is staying out long, you kind of interpret that. It's like the jury's having a hard time making a decision. I think that's usually good news for the defense because they don't think your guy's like absolutely guilty. We're going to nail him right away. We'll come right back with a guilty verdict. I think the fact that it's taken Carlos Correa longer is probably good news. Okay, I need to edit some spots among other things this morning. So let me see how long this thing is. All right, that's acceptable. Right. That'll work. Michelle Johnson, welcome in. Man, Kevin, I hope you're right. Alex Bregman going to go off this season. I do have to bust out. In fact, I'll put him up behind me. My cardboard Breggy. Alex Bregman, baby. There he is. Cardboard Breggy. Little glare on him. He's like, other than Mike Taylor, he's like the only cardboard cutout that's on that same team anymore. The spider is now dead. Shannon had a huge spider in her studio. All right. Jeremy, you don't have to answer me, but maybe if there's time in this segment, that cheerleader audio, if there's time. If not, we'll float it till later in the show. Here we come.
$707-9760.
The house is a rockin' in most arenas across the country for March Madness. One of the many things we are reacting to. Welcome in on a Friday morning. It's still a football Friday morning. Yeah, we talk about March Madness. We'll talk about Major League Baseball and Carlos Correa and NASCAR and soccer and, but it's about the football. We love football. It is the greatest sport on the face of this earth. And I say that as a huge Spurs fan. Spurs have what I believe is the biggest game of their season tonight. If they want to go to the postseason, if they want to get that number 10 slot with 12 to play, you better win tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans in the number 10 position. That's where you want to be at least at the end of 82 games. And the Spurs have played 70 games. 12 games left. You got 2 games left against the Pelicans. You don't want to lose tonight and be 2.5 back with 11 to play. You've got a game against the Pelicans tonight, and then a week from tomorrow night, you're in New Orleans. As I mentioned yesterday, 5 of the final 12 games for the Spurs are against either the Pelicans or the Portland Trail Blazers. The Spurs are in a virtual tie with Portland, but ahead of them by percentage points. So these are the two teams they're currently vying with to get to that number 10 position. So the Spurs control their own destiny. But if you control your own destiny, I think a big part of that is tonight. You got to get this win at home against the New Orleans Pelicans. All right, couple of things, and then we will dive into the high five play of the day. Once again, we love having him anytime, but we tend to have Paul Alexander on Fridays, a Football Friday. So we'll talk all things football. We'll talk the Davante Adams trade from the Packers to the Raiders with Paul. We got into that a lot in the previous segment. Deshaun Watson, we'll get into this maybe even in this segment, if not certainly with Paul. We now know the two teams that Deshaun Watson says are the finalists. Remember, he has a no trade clause in his contract, so he decides where he goes. So that is now narrowed down to two. We'll get into that here very, very shortly. Again, the brackets, the upsets, and everything else that is breaking. A quick shout out to Louise Locker, a.k.a. Elf Louise. Always love it when she and when everybody joins us in the live video feed. Michelle Johnson joining us from Marysville, Kansas. And Jeremy, Jill Kolok Walter. What is Jill's? I got to believe she's related, or is that just a wild coincidence that we got a Kolok tuning in to say hello to you this morning on the live video feed?
Yeah, no, that's just happenstance.
Yeah.
No, that's my aunt. She's tuning in from the great city of Atlanta, Georgia this morning.
Whoa.
The outskirts. And yeah, Atlanta checking in.
Ironically, and since you said Atlanta, that's one of the Deshaun Watson preferred landing spots. So
yeah, I thought that was your segue there.
Yeah, that very nice. Welcome, Jill. Appreciate you being in here from Atlanta. Michelle Johnson from Marysville, Kansas, we mentioned as well. So welcome everybody on the live video feed. And Shannon, before the high five play of the day, I have to pull back the curtain. You were, for people watching on the live video feed and listening on the radio in segment number 1, you were calm, cool, and collected. You were a professional. You were talking sports on the radio, but as you told us privately during the segment, you walked into the studio and there was a gigantic spider in the studio that then disappeared right before the segment began. You didn't know if that spider was crawling up your leg or on the console right underneath you. You didn't know, but apparently you have a breaking Austin iHeartRadio spider update, apparently.
Yeah, one thing I don't do is bugs. And for the most part in the work environment, that's not an issue. But I come in this morning and it was really cold. Whoever was in here last turned it down to like the 60s in here. So I hit the thermometer, which is by the door right when you walk in. And I pumped it up a little bit. But right next to the thermometer was a spider. And I was like, that, you know what? It's okay. It's way over here. It's completely across the room from me. Not going to be a big deal. And then right when we go live, that last segment, I notice it is on the wall that is right next to me, right by my head. And I'm like, I'm going to go across the hall at the break and get one of the fine gentlemen to kill it for me, because I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it. I'll probably miss. It'll stay in here. I'll just be freaked out even more. But during the segment, it started crawling again, and then I lost sight of it. Luckily, during the break, I found it. It made its way. It was too fast. That was my issue, was that it was way too fast to have gone from one side of the room to the other that quickly. I did not need, people, I don't know if they noticed me like looking around or like staring to my left here for most of the time, but I feel safer now. This is a safe space, and I feel much more focused than I was during that first segment, just in terror.
Yeah, any bug, anything that can cause me great pain, like a hornet or a wasp or a scorpion or
can't do it.
Conceivably a spider. I mean, yeah, if you can hurt me, I'm cool with you. If you can't hurt me, I'm all right. But if you can hurt me, you're not my friend, and you may have to leave this world before or just get out of my studio. So I totally understand that. All right, it is time, ladies and gentlemen. We should have given the high five, or could have given the high five to the friendly coworker who disposed of Shannon's studio spider. But no, we got another one. So let's get to that. It is the high five play of the day. We do it every morning at this time. because it's right and it's just, and people aren't delivering enough high fives. So we do it. We give out high fives. The high five play of the day is appropriately sponsored by High Five. 2 locations in Austin, a great place to watch March Madness. Shannon, tell the people what they will find when they step into a High Five.
Well, High Five has lots of activities for you, and not only is it March Madness, so you can take in all the games on their plethora of TVs, but it's spring break for a lot of folks here in Central Texas, and that can be an odd time, right? It's the middle of the school year. Okay, what do I do with my kid for a week when they don't have school? Take them to High Five. You sit there, you watch the basketball games. They can go run around, play some rounds of laser tag, play all of the different arcade games. Maybe they want to shoot some hoops and play some March Madness for themselves. It's a great family environment for all to enjoy. Check out High Five, 2 Austin area locations, 1 out in Lakeway and 1 on Anderson Lane in Central Austin. Today's High Five is going to a man that we've given a few high fives to before, because he's just a beloved guy in the league and a current reigning MVP and champion of the finals in the NBA. One, Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo. We loved him when, after the championship, he took the trophy and got in his vehicle and went to Chick-fil-A to buy 50 chicken nuggets. Not just because he put up 50 points, but also because he's a very large man and could probably easily put away 50 nugs in one sitting. But we give him a high five this time around for him being the ultimate icon and athlete star that he is today. A genuine and kind man. Brett Favre, obviously, he's very well known in the area of Milwaukee for his time with the Green Bay Packers. He was in attendance at a recent Milwaukee Bucks game, and he brought along his grandson. Some may be able to remember his grandson from a video that came up last year when he and his grandson went to go see the Tampa Bucks play, and this was at a time when I don't believe anyone was allowed really in the stadium to see anyone play, thanks to COVID, but he and his grandson were in a suite. For whatever reason, they were being filmed, and the grandson was asking Brett Favre about how much Tom Brady was worth. Brett Favre said, "I don't know, probably a lot." And the grandson goes, "Yeah, and you're probably worth $33,000. And then Brett Favre makes a smirk at the camera, right? This grandson does not understand just how big of an icon and idol Brett Favre is to so many, and what a great athlete he was. So it was great when Brett Favre entered the locker room post-Bucks game with his grandson, where Brett Favre made an announcement that I was quite surprised with, that he had never actually attended an NBA game, much less a Bucks game, in person. It was his first go-round. But they were there. The grandson was in awe. Giannis Antetokounmpo right in front of him. And Giannis, even though this kid's grandfather is one Brett Favre, and he's probably had the opportunity to meet athletes upon celebrities galore in his short time on this earth, this kid was blown away that Giannis was there in front of him. Giannis took his jersey, his sweaty, game-worn, just played in a jersey, off his back, signed it, and handed it over to Brett Favre's grandson. Brett Favre's grandson immediately, his face, he was shocked. He said, "I'm going to hang this on my wall." I love this, Chris. Just once again, Giannis, a great guy. But 2, again, this kid's grandfather is Brett Favre. You think that those kind of folks don't get starstruck, but he is just excited about this current generation of athletes. And who knows, maybe Brett Favre's grandson one day will be the one handing over his sweaty jersey to a young kid.
It's very, very cool. And first thing, and you mentioned this at the outset, Shannon, Brett Favre's first NBA game. I mean, especially because he was in Green Bay all those years, and Green Bay, Milwaukee, the Bucks have got to be, obviously the Packers are probably the biggest thing professionally, and probably if you include the University of Wisconsin, they're probably the biggest sports thing in the state of Wisconsin. But the Bucks have to be up there, although I realize the Bucks probably weren't that good when Brett Favre played. But so A, it shocks me that was his first NBA game, but B, even anytime an athlete is good to a kid, obviously Brett Favre's grandson, gets a lot of access maybe that other kids don't, but still, a kid is a kid. You got to be good to that kid if you have that opportunity. And hopefully he, and I'm sure he does, appreciates that jersey, taking the shirt off his back, the jersey off his back to autograph it and give it to Brett Favre's grandson. I love it. That's a great, great story.
I wonder, the grandson thinks his grandfather is worth $33,000. I wonder how much he thinks Giannis is worth. At least 50, right?
Question.
At least.
At least. Way to go, Giannis. Another one, another honorable mention for a high five. And Shannon, Jeremy brought this to our attention this morning. The game last night between Indiana and St. Mary's, it was played in Portland, and the ball gets stuck up in the backboard support. You see this a lot. A basketball gets stuck up there. It got stuck in this case behind the backboard, and a little bit of there was camera equipment and other stuff back there. So what they did, Indiana lifts one of their cheerleaders. And, well, you'll hear the rest. Here's how it sounded last night in Portland as St. Mary's, Patty Mills Old School, was taking on Indiana in the NCAA tournament.
We're getting a chair out.
You know, when I was a kid, there was a guy who played named Connie Hawkins. They said he used to be able to get quarters from the top of the backboard. That's who we
need him
now, Connie Hawkins.
Now we're going to put toss on a chair. I don't like this. No, Randy Bennett. Oh, no, it's Kelly Pfeiffer. That's not going to work.
I think they need to pick Kelly up, or maybe he's got to go on Vern's shoulders.
We got toss holding Pfeiffer. Kelly is not tall enough. Major issues here in Portland.
Why don't we get a new ball?
Yeah, why don't the cheerleaders, they're used to going up high. Let's get get the cheerleader up. Get her up there. This is how you do it. Give her the mob. Now she's got it. Oh, what a play. The cheerleader saves the day. And that's her one shining moment. This place is on its feet. The cheerleader is the hero in Portland.
And as he says, one shining moment, Shannon, and I look at the video, and thanks for Jeremy for calling that to our attention this morning. I tweeted it out. You got to go look at the video. She got a high five after she did that. So we give her a high five, and she got a high five. B, when they do the one shining moment montage, Shannon, at the end of this tournament, I want to see that in there. That's a big moment in the tournament, and that's a moment she'll never forget. That was cool.
Yeah, I want to see different angles of it too within the one shining moment. And Indiana ultimately loses that game to St. Mary's 82-53. So it's their true one shining moment because they've been ousted from the tournament.
True. That's right. At least the cheerleader did something big, man. And again, Indiana, I mentioned this yesterday, Shannon, I grew up when Bobby Knight was at Indiana, and, year in, year out, they were a powerhouse. And, here they, to their credit, they made the tournament. They were a 12 seed, but, St. Mary's did away with them, dispatched them pretty quickly. So adios, Indiana. But very, very cool for the cheerleader. Go look at that video if you get a chance. It's worth looking at. That was a cool moment in the tournament. Coming up, Coach A, Paul Alexander. So much to talk with about him. The Devontae Adams trade, Deshaun Watson, what's going on in the tournament. Does Paul have a bracket? Who did Coach A, Paul Alexander, pick to win this tournament? And what about Carlos Correa? Are we going to get some word on Carlos Correa today, please? There's some spring training games already going on, and Carlos Correa doesn't have a team. Please pick the Astros. All right, she's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist. Paul Alexander joins us next. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo, woo. John Nieto, welcome in. Good morning, and go Spurs, go, John. Amen. Let's see here how long this is. I'm editing some radio commercials. Whoops. That's the third one.
Don't wait to put an end to junk sleep at Mattress Firm. Shop Tempur-Pedic, the most highly recommended bed.
Cody, you got a reply from Shannon.
Instant gift toward sleep acceptance. Thanks to our highly trained sleep experts, Mattress Firm is the #1 Tempur-Pedic retailer. With 200 hours of training.
Okay, that's the third.
Perfect bed for you at the best price. In stock for immediate delivery and a low price guarantee. Unjunk your sleep. Only Mattress Firm. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
One more. E.
Big Bib is hiring and looking to fill all positions. Cashiers, meat cutters with barbecue experience. Now is the time to step up and go to work at the Big Bib Bar.
One shining moment. This place is on its feet. All right, let's get it. Yes, get the cheerleader up.
The Big Bib Barbecue is looking for you. The Big
You've heard of my now. She's got it. Oh, what a play.
The Big Bib Barbecue is looking for you.
And that's her. One shining moment.
The Big Bib Barbecue is looking for you. The Big...
All right.
Let's get it. Yes, get the cheerleader up. Get her up there.
Paul Alexander coming right up. Manuel Gonzalez, welcome in. Buenos dias. Find my Paul Alexander photo. There he is. Paul going to join us in just a few moments. Always insightful, thought-provoking, entertaining. Oh, I know what I need to do here. This. Woo! Woo!
And now a message for Cubs Fishing. It's that time of year when spring's in full swing and explosions of light make allergies really zing. Each sniffle and swipe can be a moment of dread as ordinary tissues make noses angry and red. So keep Puffs by your side to soften all your blows. With Hair Puff Magic, they'll cushion your nose. Especially during allergy season, a nose in you deserves Puffs indeed.
Woo! You go take a look at Paul's Twitter page. See what he's been reacting to. Luisa Alanis, welcome in. Anthony says, took my daughter to the zoo yesterday. It's $33 per person. Get out. I know they've done renovations at the zoo, but $33 to go to the zoo? Wow. That is crazy. I did not know that, Anthony. Better be a pretty damn amazing zoo for $33. Paul Alexander. Yeah, Jeremy's talking to him right now. Got him on the line. Here we come. I do believe. There it is.
Is a night, night divides the day. Try to run.
Muting for a second for our evil Facebook overlords.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is the Friday after St. Patrick's Day. It is the Friday after the opening day and night of March Madness. And if day number 2 of March Madness is anything like day number 1, it should be a very exciting day and night of college basketball in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Blockbuster trade in the National Football League yesterday as a guy who many consider, and Jeremy just said, he considers Davante Adams the best wide receiver in the NFL. He is no longer a Packer. He is now a Las Vegas Raider. And Deshaun Watson narrows his choices down to 2 teams, the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. We will talk about all of this and more with our go-to guy, our guru, our football Sherpa to lead us to the mountain of football enlightenment. He has a magnificent website, radicallyrational.com. We highly recommend it. He has done it all in broadcasting, in television, in radio, and more. Coach A, Paul Alexander, how are you this morning?
Chris, you take oak pollen out of the picture, and I'm great. And what a day in sports. This is amazing.
So much we got to get to, Paul. And I guess we'll start with NCAA and just your thoughts. I didn't even know about St. Peter's. I had to Google them and figure out who they were. They're a 15 seed. They knock off blue blood number 2 seed Kentucky. Paul, did you fill out a bracket? Are you locked into the tournament? And do you say tournament or do you say tournament?
Oh, you have to go full in NCAA and say tournament, and you got to have the perfunctory references to Big Dance and Cinderella and Glass Slipper, etc. It's all part of the fun. That's great. So yeah, I'm into it. Had a good time. I especially had a good time watching Kentucky lose. I am not a Calipari fan. I will sometimes do some calamari on a Friday night, but anytime Calipari gets whipped, it's a good day.
All right, Paul. So who's your champion in this one?
I'll tell you who I'm for, and it's kind of funny. Sometimes your heart just has this Ouija board of its own, and it just starts drifting somewhere, and you don't even really know why. The team I enjoy watching play the most in this tournament is Houston. They play like rabid badgers. I've really gotten into the Coug thing.
Yeah, I am always partial to Texas teams. I like to see the great state of Texas represented. What about Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski? If indeed Duke a 2 seed, if they can get past Gonzaga in their regional and get to the Final Four and maybe win the thing, is that something? Would that be a storyline you would enjoy seeing?
Certainly, it's interesting, and he would be deserving of that. I mean, you look at his contributions to the sport. I mean, sometimes I think that the legend that other people have built around him gets a little heavy-handed, but that's not to say that I don't completely respect him. One of the things I think is interesting about this tournament, and again, this is just, I'm just a guy that likes basketball and observes pretty casually, et cetera, but I think all 4 of the top seeds are pretty shaky.
Paul, I like that you said the Houston Cougars because that is my ultimate tournament champion. And obviously the tournament was the big story yesterday as it officially got underway. But then Davante Adams, that little wide receiver out of Green Bay, made some headlines when he was sent to the Oakland Raiders and received a nice contract to go along with it. Oakland Raiders versus Green Bay. Who won this trade in your mind, and why do you think this took place?
First of all, I think the first thing that needs to happen is somebody needs to do a welfare check on Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he must be having a rough morning, and it'll all come out in time. But, guys, I'm wondering what Rodgers knew and when he knew it, because I'm of the opinion that it was, in large part, his relationship with Davante Adams was a big part of his deciding to keep playing in Green Bay. And there's no way that you can replace Davante Adams. I mean, they'll go receiver heavy in the draft, etc. But if you had told me 3 days ago that, in your opinion, the Packers were the favorite in the NFC, the entire conference, going into next season, I'd have gone, all right, oh, well, okay, I can see that. Not now. Not now. They've taken a giant step backward. And what is happening now in the AFC West is unprecedented. Can we start the season like a week from Sunday? This is great.
Well, and I've read all kinds of analysis this morning, Paul, on that Davante Adams trade, and nobody knows for sure. I agree with you. A welfare check on Aaron Rodgers is a good idea. Some people are speculating maybe Aaron Rodgers knew that there were irreconcilable differences between Davante Adams and the Packers. But if he didn't, I mean, we all know, Paul, what a drama queen, what a diva Aaron Rodgers is. How bizarre is this going to be now that he apparently has agreed to this extension with the Packers and is not going to have a guy who, if he's not the best wide receiver in football, he's certainly top 3.
Yeah, this is just really weird because, you would think that one of the reasons that Rodgers kept playing is because he thinks he got a pretty good chance to win a Super Bowl. And again, until yesterday, I thought that would be the case. But I don't think it's the case right now. So he's really, really close with Davante. And it could be, Chris, just exactly the way you described it, that Adams had just said, look, I'm not playing under the franchise tag. I'm not doing it. So maybe they made their peace, but this is really, really bizarre. And the Raiders have been bold. In fact, everybody in that division, this has been quite the week. And think about it. The one team in the AFC West that nobody's talking about right now is the Kansas City Chiefs. How crazy is that?
You're onto something with the wellness check for Aaron because, this is just the second thing to happen to him in a week that makes it harder to believe that the Packers might make it to another Super Bowl because his good buddy and rival Tom Brady announced his return on Sunday. He was like, Selection Sunday is taking up too much news. What can I do here to break that news cycle? Oh yeah, let me announce that I'm not actually retired after just 40 days. When you saw Tom Brady said he is coming back to play for the Bucs for the 23rd season, what was your immediate reaction? And now that we are 5 days removed from it, how are you feeling?
Well, my wife and I were sitting on the couch watching TV, and she's scrolling on her phone, and all of a sudden just starts shrieking, Tom Brady's coming back. And it was funny, guys, because on the one hand, I wasn't totally surprised, but if he had stayed retired, I wouldn't have been totally surprised either. And I know there are all these conspiracy theories out there. Sometimes I think the simplest explanation is the correct one. And I think the simplest and the correct explanation here really is, he kind of gave up football for Lent for 40 days, and it was driving him crazy. And it's what he does. It's who he is. He wants to keep playing. I think in some cases he retired to some degree to please other people. And the guy decided, I can still play. I can still play at a high level. I still am surrounded by a team that has a chance to win a Super Bowl. Why wouldn't I continue to play as long as I can if I can still play at a high level? But then you look at all the dominoes that started falling. Okay, so Brady's coming back to the Bucs. So all 3 of the other teams in the NFC South start chasing Deshaun Watson. And, I mean, this has been really intriguing. And, of course, one of 2 teams in the NFC South is going to get Deshaun Watson. And my best guess is that's going to happen today. And if I had to guess, I think the party's going to be on Bourbon Street.
Wow. And I have heard it put this way, Paul. In fact, right before us, the national show on Fox Sports Radio, 2 Pros and a Cup of Joe, somebody there said this, and I think it makes sense. And it's down to, reportedly, the Atlanta Falcons, or as you mentioned, the New Orleans Saints. And, he's from Georgia, so he's from the Atlanta area. So, if he goes to Atlanta has a lot of work to do on that roster. If he goes to Atlanta, it's because he wants to go home. If he goes to New Orleans, it's because he wants to win. And, granted, Sean Payton is a big loss at head coach for the New Orleans Saints, but they kept the offensive coordinator from last year. They elevated the defensive coordinator. So other than Sean Payton, a lot of that coaching staff is there. But it sure looks, Paul, like those Saints are pretty much kind of a quarterback away from maybe giving Tom Brady a whole lot of fits in that division.
Well, and keep in mind, they own Brady anyway. I mean, it's just the strangest thing. I mean, especially that Saints defense, they just own them. So if the Saints get Deshaun Watson, that means they keep their stud offensive tackle in free agency. And Chris, I'm with you. I think it's plug and play.
Well, whenever we have quarterback movement, that usually creates a ripple effect across the league. We saw some of it go on when Deshaun was first tied to the Browns. Baker Mayfield ends up releasing a statement, and then we hear now that he has actually asked for a trade from the Browns, even though they are no longer in the running for one Deshaun Watson. Obviously, if Deshaun Watson goes to the Saints, that kind of knocks out Jameis Winston as their starter, and then Matt Ryan, who's probably on the tail end of his career at this point. But a lot of people had him trending on Twitter yesterday if Deshaun were to go there. So where do you see quarterback movement as far as Matt Ryan and Jameis Winston? And then where do you think Baker Mayfield might end up should his wish be granted to get out of Cleveland?
First of all, I mean, this soap opera here, winding your way on Baker Street, lighting your head dead on your feet. What is going on there? I mean, you don't see Matt Ryan throwing a fit. You don't see Jameis Winston throwing a fit. The Browns had every right to explore their chances of landing Deshaun Watson. Matter of fact, they would have not been doing their job if they hadn't done that. Okay, they didn't get him. I didn't think he was going to Cleveland in the first place, but okay. So you have to understand that, and you're still making $18 million to play quarterback. And worst case scenario, and of course right now the Browns are saying, no, we're not going to trade him, but that's what you got to say. All right, so worst case, you play another year in Cleveland, you make $18 million, and you don't further sully your reputation. So there are a couple of places that are really, really looking for a quarterback right now. Indianapolis certainly would be one of them. Seattle would be another one. I actually think the guy that makes the most sense in Indianapolis is Jimmy G, and it's because of the particular characteristics of that team. I mean, they just run the heck out of the ball like nobody's business. They can play really good defense. They've got a really good offensive line. They've got a really smart head coach, bless his heart, who now is going to have to deal with his fifth starting quarterback in 5 years. I mean, that's really ridiculous. But, you know, Jimmy G's got his deficiencies and his flaws, but there are some things he does really well. And the Colts' whole passing game is that short play action, slant-oriented passing game, and he throws that ball about as well as anybody. So I think that's a situation where that guy clearly, to me, makes more sense for the Colts than anybody else out there. But you've got all this other chaos going on. I mean, you don't know what's going to end up happening in Seattle, for example. And I wonder if maybe they thought, as it turned out wrongly, that maybe they were in the Deshaun Watson derby. I don't know about that. But certainly we're going to have some more movement right now. I mean, you see a guy like Mitchell Trubisky going to the Steelers, and you wonder if that's their last move, because right now he's just competing with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins there. I do think that there's a chance that Mitchell could resurrect his career to a degree. I think if Mitchell were coming out in the draft this year, for example, he'd be the top-rated quarterback. Now, on the other hand, you got to look at who else is playing quarterback, not only in the AFC North, but in the AFC. And Trubisky would be about, I don't know, the 14th best quarterback in that conference or something like that. But you just wonder if the Steelers are through, because Mike Tomlin's a really smart guy. That's a really, really smart front office. They got a GM that's getting out of the business here shortly, and he said that, what he wanted to do was make sure he brought another franchise quarterback to the Steelers. So I wonder what's going on there. But I just, Baker Mayfield is just being his own worst enemy. I did respect the degree to which he played through pain last year. And look, I know every football player is hurting, every quarterback's hurting, but that was that was a higher quantum degree of pain that he was playing through last year, and I did respect that. But I just think he does so many things to be his own worst enemy. I heard somebody quote somebody anonymously out of the Browns front office as saying, we really would like to have an adult play quarterback. And I get that. So he needs to check himself for sure.
He is Coach A, Paul Alexander of RadicallyRational.com. And Paul, we just in the last few minutes have gone around the league and talked about a bunch of teams. It's amazing. We haven't even talked about the Dallas Cowboys yet. The team you love, the team Shannon loves, the team Jeremy loves, the team I love. Just some thoughts on them. And another so many developments since last Friday when we talked with you. Von Miller, for a while, it looked like, Von Miller might be possibly headed to the Dallas Cowboys. We know coming out of A&M that he had expressed that he wanted to go. He said, Jerry Jones, trade up and come get me. Von Miller wound up going number 2 overall. We know the rest. Super Bowl at Denver, Super Bowl last year with the LA Rams. He goes to the Buffalo Bills. Your thoughts on do you think the Cowboys ever had a legitimate shot at him? And the Bills threw a lot of money at him. What does this do for the Buffalo Bills now as well?
Well, I'll answer that question first. That puts them almost in the number 1 slot, because the one thing that team was lacking was a really elite level pass rusher. And they have that now. As to your question, did the Cowboys ever have a chance? I really don't think so. As a matter of fact, I read a quote from Von Miller just this morning, a couple of hours ago, saying, look, I finally had to do something just for me that was right for me. And, you can say that it's not about the Bucs, but it's about the Bucs. And the Cowboys just weren't in a position to do that. And, the whole Randy Gregory thing was just bizarre. And I really don't blame the Cowboys here. Apparently what finally took that deal apart and brought it down is Gregory didn't want the clause in his contract that, hey, if you get suspended for behaving poorly or drugs or anything else, we don't have to pay it, which seems pretty reasonable to me. Matter of fact, everybody on the Cowboy roster, with the exception of Dak Prescott, has that clause in their contract. So Gregory essentially says, what do you mean if I mess up again, I don't get paid? That doesn't sound fair. So all I can say is, Denver, that's your problem now.
Coach, in other Bills news, they released wide receiver Cole Beasley yesterday. And of course, he made a lot of headlines for a lot of things not related to football in recent years. Of course, his previous team was the Dallas Cowboys, where he was a pretty solid slot receiver, kind of a comfort, if you will, for Dak as well as Tony during his time. But I'm seeing, when people get cut, people take to their social medias to see if they can find any hints to where they might go next. And Mr. Cole Beasley followed the Dallas Cowboys on Instagram yesterday. How would you feel about a potential reunion?
Well, first of all, isn't it funny that the connection we have with everybody and how we form our opinions is what they do on social media and who they're following and what they put up and what they take down? As for Cole Beasley, at this point in his career, hard pass.
Yeah. And I wonder, Paul, I look at Cole Beasley, who was a very vocally anti-vax at a time where, I look at management in the NFL and coaching staffs in the NFL where, they were asking you to take one for the team, literally. And Cole Beasley not only refused, but refused so vociferously. I got to believe he influenced other people in that locker room. As I see the Buffalo Bills release him, we saw the Indianapolis Colts move away from Carson Wentz. Similar situation with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz cited religious reasons for not getting vaccinated during the season, and he was out with COVID for a while. For guys who did this last year and did not get vaccinated, do you think management remembers that ultimately and kind of carries a little bit of a grudge? And do you think they're more prone to move off of a Cole Beasley or a Carson Wentz because of that?
First of all, short answer to that question is yes. But here's the rest of it. This isn't just about your behavior a year ago. And it's not about, well, gee, I remember how you were acting during the pandemic. I hate to be the one to break this to you on a Friday morning. There's another wave of COVID coming. So these protocols in a lot of cases are going to be reinstated. So you're going to be right back in that environment. And at that point, that is an important part of your decision-making process. Absolutely.
My goodness. When you think in that terms, if you think with another wave coming, yeah. And you already know how this guy's going to behave if that's the case. That is a big consideration. Paul, we talk about your wonderful website, radicallyrational.com. Yes, there's great sports opinion there, but all kinds of other stuff, from your podcast with Anthony Pittman to your blog to the daily video. For people who have not yet gone to radicallyrational.com, what will they find there?
Well, we say that we're bringing facts back into fashion and making simple sanity sexy again, and that we're anti-crazy of all stripes, that crazy ain't cool. We've just developed this idea over the last decade that there's something attractive about being crazy, and that the more shrill you are and the more anti-polar you are and the more extreme you are and the more ridiculous you are, somehow the more influential you are. So it sounds really counterintuitive to say that just being simply rational is now a pretty radical idea, but it is. So we take the subject matter seriously. We don't take ourselves real seriously. Matter of fact, I consider it in a lot of ways an entertainment website. And if I or somebody not making you laugh, then I or somebody not doing our job. So that's really the whole thing there. And we're at such a frightening point, really, in human history right now. And I don't want to delve too deeply into it, but right now, this is a pivotal point, and we are seeing some unprecedented evil right now. And we're going to have to decide, not just as a country, but we're going to have to decide as a species who we want to be. And in posing this question right now, Chris, I don't have an answer for it. I am really struggling with it. But this monster has got to be stopped. And the thing is, there is no risk-free way of stopping this monster. And the good news is that Vladimir Putin is getting his butt kicked. The bad news is that Vladimir Putin is getting his butt kicked.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen how desperate he is. He has crossed all red lines. We now rationally have to assume that there's nothing he won't do. And, he's bankrupt in a lot of ways, morally, economically, but he is sitting on 6,500 nuclear weapons. And right now, there is a real reason to believe that he might use them. So we got to do something. I don't know what it is. So one of the things I want to do in Radically Rational is get everybody involved, get on that website and tell me what your ideas are. But this cannot be sustained. This guy is a war criminal. To a degree that I would say at this point, very few people in human history would reach that degree of criminality. And clearly there's nothing he won't do. This ultimately is going to be up to the Russian people. And I actually am pretty optimistic that the Russian people are going to take care of this. And the other thing that makes me maybe a little bit hopeful here is that Russia's asking for China's help, and China's made a couple of soft, perfunctory statements. Yeah, we'll raise a glass to you. But if you look at what they're actually doing, they're running away from Russia as far as they can because Russia is bad for business and China is all about the business. So, yeah, this is really frightening. The risks here are enormous, but the rewards could be too, Chris. I really feel there's a significant chance that we could all get out of this with a better world.
And let us hope for that. Let us pray for that. And again, just a little taste of some of the content and philosophy. And it is very entertaining as well, as dark as things could be right now. And they are in many respects. Go check out radicallyrational.com. Can't recommend it highly enough. Paul Alexander, it's one of the highlights of our week on Fridays, talking football and more with you. Thanks for taking the time. Have a great weekend.
Chris and Shannon, thank you very much. And you too.
All right, coming up, it is time for Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays, and at the top of the hour, your chance to win NASCAR. NASCAR coming to Circuit of the Americas. We got a couple of passes for you, good for all 3 days on March 25th, 26th, and 27th. We'll give you that keyword just after the top of the hour. Don't go anywhere. Lots coming until 9 o'clock on the Chris Duel Show. All right. Now I got to do one more thing, which is kind of extracurricular today as far as a commercial. See if I can find that. Our thanks to Paul Alexander, as always. Great job. Let's see. Oh, that's loud.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, it's not plus severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. That's it. NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use it directly.
All right. Good morning, John Williams from Dallas. Yeah, that restaurant, that's very, very sad, Jason. I got to record something here, so I'm going to go silent for a little bit. Let's see, where are they located? They have the location. Colonnade Shopping Center. Okay. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Sports history, sports birthdays. Here we come. Woo! It is that time.
Great balls of fire.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Balls of fire.
Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Don't forget, top of the hour, your final chance this week to score those passes to see NASCAR at Circuit of the Americas. It is going to be incredible. It is coming March 25th, 26th, and 27th. The passes are for all 3 days. Somebody's going to win those passes. It may as well be you. We are going to give you a keyword at the top of the hour, so join us for that. And, of course, the live video feed, you can access that via Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. We are crystal clear on the free iHeartRadio app, where now there is a microphone button at the bottom of the screen. You can talk to us instantly. We'll get your message instantly, and we'll probably play it on the air. We're going to talk more March Madness. We'll talk more NFL, the Blockbuster Davante Adams trade. Remember, Coach A, Paul Alexander, believes Deshaun Watson will make his decision today. So we keep an eye on that. Is he going to choose the New Orleans Saints or the Atlanta Falcons? And what about Carlos Correa? You got to believe that that decision has to be coming down very soon as well. We are all over these stories and more. As I mentioned, we're seconds away from Shannon's Salty Shakedown. But first, how about some sports birthdays? And this day in sports history, March 18th, 1953. Major League Baseball approves the Boston Braves move to Milwaukee. It is the first shift of a franchise to another city since 1903. And as we know, the Milwaukee Braves eventually wound up in Atlanta. On this day in 1970, the NFL selects Wilson as its official football brand and scoreboard as its official timekeeper. On this day in 1995, Michael Jordan announces he is ending his 17-month NBA retirement. He would come back for 3 more championships, including The Last Dance, which was heavily documented on that 10-part Netflix series. On this day in 2014, Phil Jackson, the Zen master, signs a 5-year contract to become the president of the New York Knicks. That didn't work out so well. And finally, on this day in 2019, 40-year-old Dallas Mavericks forward Dirk Nowitzki overtakes Wilt Chamberlain to go to number 6 on the all-time points list at 31,424 during the Mavericks' overtime loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1927, George Plimpton. If you don't know who George Plimpton was, he was a sports writer. And one of the coolest things he did in the 70s, he wanted to know what it was like to play quarterback in the NFL. So he convinced the Detroit Lions to let him take snaps in a preseason game. Never played football before. He was a writer. And the Lions said yes. And he wrote a book about it called Paper Tiger. And they wound up making a movie about that starring Alan Alda as George Plimpton. George Plimpton, born in New York City. He passed away in 2003. Born on this day in 1952, legendary Pittsburgh Steelers center Mike Webster. Sadly, Mike Webster, with all of those brain concussions and injuries over the years, before he died, Mike Webster wound up living on the streets. He suffered from dementia. Things went really south after his football career for number 52, Mike Webster. After he died, they did do an autopsy and discovered he did suffer from massive CTE. Mike Webster died in 2002. Born on this day in 1964, Bonnie Blair, American speed skater, Olympic gold 5 times over the Olympiads in 1988, 1992, and 1994. Bonnie Blair was born in Champaign, Illinois. And finally, born on this day in 1975, a baby boy born to Bob Greasy. They would name him Brian Greasy. He would play at Michigan ahead of Tom Brady. He would become an NFL quarterback and a broadcaster on Monday Night Football till this year, where he now is the quarterback coach of the San Francisco 49ers. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, it's time for your weekend Salty Shakedown.
As we know, Chris, the NFL is king, and even in the offseason, there's plenty of stories going around and people still very interested in buying merchandise. A lot of times because, like if you get a jersey, if you get something custom, if you get something, anything really these days from online, it's going to take a little while to get there. So best to get it as far ahead of the season as you can. And this week, a lot of people have been getting new jerseys because of the quarterback situations. Tom Brady, ever since he announced he was coming back to the Bucs, he had been in the number 1 spot for jersey sales on Fanatics. And that's not too surprising because he's typically been up top as far as jersey sales. And we went over the map, the United States map of best sold jerseys for teams and players around the country. And Tom Brady took that number 1 spot. You can only imagine what those sales would look like if he does end up sticking around till 2023 when the Bucs have those creamsicle jerseys back in their rotation. But taking over Tom Brady as of yesterday in the number 1 spot is one Mr. Russell Wilson and his new number 3 Denver Broncos jersey. Now, at first I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's on a completely new team. Maybe there's some Seahawks fans that just really love Russell. They're supporting him. Obviously, Denver, the fans are probably going to take that jersey because they feel like maybe they finally have their guy after the turnover that has been taking place since Peyton Manning and the success he found. But at the same time, because of what we know about Tom Brady jersey sales, it is a little shocking that people are so on the Russell Wilson train. How the Cowboys, obviously with Dak, we haven't had to experience this. Tony Wood's in there for a while, and then we had Dak. So there hasn't been as high turnover. But if you were a fan of Denver, who has had such high turnover, I know he's a big-time name. But do you get your jersey now, or do you wait for a little bit of a prove-it moment to invest that much? Because jerseys, especially when you get a player's name on the back, they are not cheap, sir.
They are very expensive, but I think people don't want to wait, and I think they want to believe, and especially if you're a Denver Broncos fan, Shannon, you saw them do this with Peyton Manning. You saw them bring a quarterback who won a Super Bowl somewhere else, and he won a Super Bowl for you later in his career. I think because of that especially, Broncos fans are saying, all right, this is Peyton Manning all over again. We got to say Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's good. He's a household name. And I think they run out and get the jersey.
It's going to be weird seeing Russell in that orange and blue next season. Next, Chris, Urban Meyer has a new gig. And it's not a coaching gig.
Ooh.
It's not a broadcasting gig. But he has been added to the board as a member of the Foundation for the Ohio State University. The organization says that it aims to help student athletes of Ohio State land NIL deals. But then you look a little bit more specifically, and it says that they will pay football and basketball players, so not all athletes, as they do work for charity. A lot of this is really interesting because for whatever reason, Urban Meyer and charity just don't really seem to compute and equal each other in my mind. But what do you think of this gig? Do you think this is just kind of a placeholder, something to add to his resume? I don't know how involved he'll actually be.
It's a great question. And if I'm the Ohio State University, I know he won a lot of football games for you, but he's kind of radioactive right now. And especially, that viral video at his restaurant during the football season with, the young floozy seeming to do a table dance for him on the Barstool. I don't get it. And I mean, I don't get it from why would Ohio State want to associate themselves with him right now? And I don't know how this benefits him other than just, adding to his resume that here's me doing something where I'm not a dirt bag. I don't understand it at all.
Joining him on that board is one Cardell Jones, who knows a little something about, hey, we don't play school. We're here to play sport, and now they're here to play sport and make money. All right, finally today, sir, have you ever watched The Masked Singer on Fox?
I've not watched a full episode, but I've been channel surfing and I've stopped for a while, so I am familiar with it.
Same.
Yes.
I've never seen an episode, but I am familiar. We've got some audio for you here. I want to see if you can guess this sports-related figure who appeared on The Masked Singer was sent home, and therefore we know who is now under the head. I'll give you a hint that this is the Ram that is performing. Here's that audio.
Tell all of the angels this could take all night.
Sounds good.
Think I need a devil to help me get things right. Hook me up a new revolution. This one is a lie. Sat around laughing and watched the last one die. Looking for something to help me burn out bright. Looking cause I'm tired of trying. Make my way back home when I learn to fly. I make my way back home when I learn to fly. Make my way back home when I learn to. Yes!
All right, that was the Ram on Fox's The Masked Singer performing Food Fighters Learn to Fly. And I'll give you two hints before you make your guess, because that's part of the show. During each week, the singer gives a hint to help the judges decide who might be under the mask. So the two hints we got, because this was only the second week of the show before this person was revealed and ultimately kicked off. There was a referee that was shown in week 1, and then in week 2, he received an award, specifically an Emmy Award. After hearing those clues and this songster give their version of the Foo Fighters, who do you think was under that Masked Singer, the Ram helmet?
Wow, a referee and an Emmy Award. I was going to go with Johnny Manziel because you said it was sports related, but an Emmy Award. I'll go Dan Patrick. He's always talking about his Emmy Awards. Dan Patrick, the radio dude.
That would be a pretty good guess, but it was Joe Buck in his final act on the Fox Network. Joe Buck. And when asked after he removed the Ram hat, he was asked, why did you decide to come out here and be a part of the Masked Singer? He said 11 years ago, he had a paralyzed vocal cord, which is hard to imagine because obviously he needs his voice for the job that he does. And so
Yeah.
he was so excited that he was able to do something like that and sing in front of an audience. He got kicked off in week 2. So there is a performance from week 1 if anyone's interested in going and finding that. But Joe Buck, his final duty on the Fox network, The Masked Singer. Who knew he could carry a tune? It was pretty good, I thought.
That was decent. Yeah. But that's, man, Joe Buck is just stepping out and more, he's getting on the singing in public on The Masked Singer. He's going to Monday Night Football now with Troy Aikman. It's a whole different world for Joe Buck these days.
Joe Buck, the Ram, on this latest season of The Masked Singer. There it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Incredible Salty Shakedown as always. Russell Wilson outselling Tom Brady in Jersey's. Urban Meyer gets a new job, and Joe Buck on The Masked Singer. That was a lot to digest. Very, very cool. Coming up, we do have NASCAR tickets to give away, Shannon. That is always a fun thing. So,
oh yeah, listen for that keyword.
There's that
keyword to take over to both websites.
Exactly. And we say go to both websites and get another, double your chance of winning. Also coming up, Shannon, we gotta talk some Carlos Correa as well. Spring training games are already beginning, and we still don't have a Carlos Correa decision. Mm-hmm. The longer it takes, do you think that benefits the Houston Astros, or do you think that means that other people are diving in and offering him other deals and he just can't make up his mind yet?
I feel like it's him willing to hold out a little bit to see what the Astros and him can work out. But also I start to think of something that Scott brought up of we don't know what shape these guys are in, especially the ones that aren't yet attached to a team, right? Is he going to come in ready to play wherever he goes?
I gotta believe if you're on the level of a Carlos Correa, and I know, Tom Brady is kind of the standard for working out 12 months a year, but I would imagine he's in great shape, but who the heck knows? So we will talk all sorts of sports coming up in the next hour. And we do have an update on Brittany Griner being held by Russia for that vaping oil that was confiscated at an airport. Lots to cover. March Madness, NFL free agency, Major League Baseball free agency, and more. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Your NASCAR keyword is coming right up. Jeremy Kolok makes the show go. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show.
Straight balls of fire.
Woo! Yeah, Anthony, you had Joe Buck. Well done. Okay, I have to record a spot, so I'm going to do that real quick. So I'm going to mute my mic for just a sec, and I'll be right back. Anthony saw that live episode. Very cool. All right, I'm muting for just a moment here, maybe a minute, and then I should be back. All right. I think I got that. Let's see. How long is that? 132. Okay. Edit, paste. Where did that go? All right. Let's see. NASCAR keyword is coming. Jason, I did. Yes. Maybe we'll talk about that too. I did. I'm now 2 episodes in on Winning Time. I'm waiting for the next one. I guess that's Sunday night. It is very well done. I highly recommend it. I like it more than I thought I was going to like it. So yeah, thank you for asking. The Jerry Buss character is just amazing. And it's amazing how the more you watch it, you know, like you're probably like me, Jason, you know, everybody knows who Magic Johnson is, but you know, you probably knew of Dr. Jerry Buss and saw a lot of him over the years and saw him in commercials. The more you watch this, it's like the Magic guy becomes Magic. It's like, oh yeah, that's Magic. And you know, the Jerry Buss character, oh yeah, that's Jerry Buss. That's Dr. Jerry Buss and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Norm Nixon. And it's pretty remarkable. Very stylistic, very well done. I saw this other thing on HBO Max, the new Bomani Jones. Let me see what the name of that was. There's only one episode that dropped, and it was very good. Game Theory. Maybe we'll talk about that too. I highly recommend Game Theory with Bomani Jones on HBO and HBO Max. They did a hilarious sketch on Duke basketball and Coach K and how they were all about, you know, the white players and that they broke the hearts of, you know, people pulling for, you know, schools with predominantly black players.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Hilarious and brilliantly done. All right, I'm going to go mute a little bit for our Facebook evil overlords.
Now, Chris Duel.
Day 1 of March Madness is in the books, and it was truly madness. Lots of upsets, lots of busted brackets, including mine. I had Kentucky going to the Final Four. You know, we talked about our bracket challenge that whoever comes in last will be mocked and humiliated. That could be me before it's all said and done. Welcome in to the 8 o'clock hour. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. In this hour, we'll talk all things March Madness. We'll talk about the Davante Adams trade from the Green Bay Packers to the Las Vegas Raiders, where he is being reunited with his Fresno State quarterback, Derek Carr. Deshaun Watson, will he choose the Saints? Will he choose the Falcons? We'll get into that. Carlos Correa, when you're going to make a decision. So much to talk about, so much going on in the world of sports. The latest on Brittany Griner being held in Russia. But Shannon, it is that time. For the first time in 3 days, I remembered at the top of the hour, which I was supposed to do yesterday and the day before. It is time for somebody to win tickets to see NASCAR at Circuit of the Americas. It is coming March 25th, 26th, and 27th. The passes are for all 3 days. Shannon, you are in possession of the keyword. What is that keyword, and where should people take it?
Your keyword on this Friday is drive, D-R-I-V-E. You take that keyword over to AM 1300 The Zone, ticket 760, get to that NASCAR contest page and enter drive for your chance to win 3-day pass to Circuit of the Americas to watch NASCAR take on the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix. 3 days of racing, music, and so much more. Just bring your walking shoes if you go out there, because it's not a small track. It is a giant racetrack and lots of land to cover. So just make sure it's going to be a great weekend, I think, weather-wise, but just make sure you're wearing comfortable shoes. Don't go looking cute. Go for comfort. But go ahead, enter drive over at Ticket 760 or AM1300thezone.com. Your final chance today to win tickets to NASCAR at COTA.
Somebody's going to win the tickets. It may as well be you. So drive is the keyword. Take it over there too. And we always recommend go to both websites, double your chances to win, AM1300thezone.com and ticket760.com. We will get back and talk more, Shannon, about the big stories, of course, March Madness and the upsets yesterday. Let's see, you had a 15 seed beating a 2. That was St. Peter's beating Kentucky, just mind-blowing. You had 2 12s winning yesterday, and you had 1 11 seed winning yesterday. So March Madness is getting crazy, but also want to talk about some of the other stories that are happening out there in the world of sports. This Brittany Griner story continues to be troubling. I mean, especially, you heard Paul Alexander talking to us just a little over a half hour ago, just how dark this situation is with regard to Russia and the invasion of Ukraine that poses a threat not only to Ukraine, but potentially for the world if things go really, really south. And if you know your history, something seemingly as innocuous, although it's not innocuous, but you think of the start of World War I, it was the assassination of an Archduke, Franz Ferdinand, which was something that happened far away from the United States. And you didn't know that one domino would lead to the other. And the next thing you know, you got World War I. Well, things like that happen in geopolitics. So who knows what's going to happen as a result of what Russia is doing in Ukraine. But we've talked about it, Shannon, for Brittany Griner to be arrested and detained. And, as we've discussed, this happened in late February, and we're approaching probably the 1 month mark now that Brittany Griner has been detained. And we've learned more in the last 24 hours about Russia's plans to continue to detain her.
Yeah, so she was actually detained February 17th. So she's officially been there for a month. Since then, her lawyers have asked if she could be on house arrest, so she would not have to be in jail during this time awaiting her trial. But yesterday it was revealed that the trial would be pushed back, and she could be there until May 19th, another 2 months on top of this. You almost wonder, with how much coverage that this is received, if Russia says, wow, we're getting a lot of pub here. Why don't we keep her a little bit longer?
Yeah, and it would seem to me everything we know about Vladimir Putin, especially right now, he is in no mood to do any favors to the United States or to a citizen of the United States. And I mean, just think about it, Shannon. Brittany Griner, I mean, any of us, you, me, Jeremy, anybody listening right now, to be in a Russian jail has got to be god awful. But as an athlete and someone who is one of the best performers in her sport, I mean, you could make the case Brittany Griner is either the best female basketball player on earth right now, or she's in the top 5, or she's in the top 10. And she was making $1 million a year in Russia. So the WNBA, and we talked about this, almost all of them have to do this to make the money that they can make at this point in their career. Not a lot of $1 million jobs out there anywhere in the world. So, it's so strange that you can't make that money in the WNBA, even though in Brittany Griner's case, she went to Baylor, and you would think you could make a living playing basketball and make a lot of money in the United States. But no, they've got to go to Europe. They've got to go to Russia to make that kind of money. So, I mean, you think about a millionaire. She is a multimillionaire. She is the best athlete in her sport. If not, then maybe the top 10 or the top 5. And now you're incarcerated in a Russian jail. And I got to believe it's not plush, Shannon. I got to believe it's ugly in there, and probably awful living conditions. And as a basketball player, man or woman, you are usually by definition taller than most people. Those jails and those jail beds and those cells, whatever they are, they're probably designed for people a lot shorter and a lot smaller than Brittany Griner. It's got to be just awful for her right now.
Yeah, the word from her Russian legal team, who's been able to visit with her multiple times, say that she's doing okay. But the okay, how okay can you really be? And to all those points you just made, I'm not sure how tall she is, but we know that she is tall. I mean, she was dunking in college.
Yeah, when I saw her at Baylor, she was one of the biggest players on the court. But the other thing that you bring up, Shannon, her Russian attorneys.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're court appointed or if she's hired them, but and they're in Russia, right? So I mean, they can't say, "Oh God, she's barely." Vladimir Putin. If you go public, it's like the woman on the TV broadcast the other day who held up the sign and said, "They're lying to you. No war. This is propaganda." That was on Russian state. She was immediately arrested. If you say anything in Russia that Vladimir Putin is not happy with, you will get arrested. So when I hear that the Russian attorneys for Brittany Griner say she's okay, I don't know if I believe that, because if they said it, they said, "Oh God, you guys should really get her out of here because the conditions are deplorable and she's not going to make it otherwise mentally." So it's you wonder what the reality is.
Yeah, it's just I'm going through searching her name on Twitter, and it's just a lot. People are referring to her as the Tom Brady of women's basketball, and I don't think they're that far off. But the circumstances are just unimaginable at this point.
She is 6'9", 205. Yeah, so that jail cell, I'll bet you, is not, and the bed, whatever she's sleeping on at night, probably not designed for somebody 6'9", 205.
It's hard enough to find a bed for that size outside of jail. Like that feels like a custom order to me.
Yeah. And the other thing, Shannon, I brought this up when we heard about this story breaking, is Brittany Griner is openly gay. Russia is not very tolerant for diversity. So, I mean, even God knows how she's, her jailers knowing even that, you don't know if they're even giving her a more difficult time because of that. I think it's possible. So, my goodness, let us pray, let us hope. Hopefully people in the United States, I have heard that, diplomatic channels, the ambassador to Russia, saying that, we're doing everything we can to help in this circumstance, but it is just a horrible, horrible circumstance for her. Now, I notice in your show notes, things you're working on and keeping an eye on, Shannon, Matthew Stafford has a commercial. I missed this yesterday, a commercial during March Madness involving Matthew Stafford. What do we know about this?
Yeah, I didn't see it live, but I was reading about it and ultimately went to go look at it. And it's an AT&T commercial. And I know that you have a little bit of beef, right? You're a little annoyed and over the girl who appears in all of those commercials, and she is in it. But it includes Matthew Stafford, and they're pushing new phones. And they use Matthew Stafford's last year to kind of poke fun at his career, but also get the point across that you can make trades. Trades are very much allowed apparently at AT&T. I think Jeremy has the audio of the commercial, so we can listen to it here.
When I'm out for March Madness, you'll cover phone trades. People can get a free Samsung Galaxy S22 when they trade in a Galaxy. Any year, any condition.
Oh, I get it. So you can take your old phone that you've had for 12 years and loved every minute of and trade it in for something new that suits your life now?
That's right, yeah.
Then enjoy immediate success, even though you'll never forget your old phone, ever.
It's a great trade.
Life-changing.
Okay, that was funny.
It's pretty good.
That was clever. That was clever and funny. Yes. So if you're going to make me watch Lily every single time out, and again, it's a great character. It's very successful. She's a beautiful young lady. I'm just burned out on the Lily AT&T commercials.
She's turned into Flo of Progressive.
Yes. Well, but I and I don't see Flo as much as I see Lily, and they did this last year, and we talked about it a year ago. It's amazing. A year has gone by, Shannon, since last year's NCAA tournament, but it's like every single commercial. AT&T is a major sponsor. Look at our bracket. She's even on our bracket because AT&T is a major sponsor of the. And again, I have nothing, and I understand she directs those commercials, so she's very talented. She is easy on the eyes. I will give her. It's just every time out, and then it's the same commercial I've seen 2,700 times. I've just reached a burnout factor.
Now there's a different one for you with Matthew Stafford, and and seeing that today, I can't remember. I'm sure he had local spots in Detroit when he was quarterback there for, as he said, 12 years. And I'll never forget it. But that, to me, I think that's the first time I've seen him in a national spot by himself. Maybe he's appeared in some others, just with other notable figures in the league. But we could be seeing a lot more Matthew Stafford. And I thought he did a great job. Obviously, he has no problem kind of poking fun at the situation. And, he did break the fourth wall there again by saying never. But I like it. I like this Matthew Stafford.
You bring up, I had not thought about that till you just said it. Matthew Stafford, for so many years, was considered, wow, he's a tremendous quarterback. Too bad he's on the Detroit Lions. And again, he had a lot of fourth quarter comebacks because they were always behind. But you're right. We've never seen Matthew Stafford on a national television commercial. And because we don't live in Detroit, we haven't seen him on any commercial. That's pretty amazing. You're a quarterback in the National Football League. You're seeing all these. You're seeing Dak for chunky soup. You're seeing Tom Brady for everything, including Subway.
Yeah, they should
which
trade
he doesn't
them out.
even eat.
Because I bet Matthew eats Subway.
Yes. But, you think about it now, and if you were Matthew Stafford all those years in Detroit, knowing you were a great quarterback, knowing you had it in you, watching all those other quarterbacks get commercials on TV, and you didn't. And then, my goodness, Sean McVay, he must be his favorite guy in the world. Sean McVay orchestrating that trade, making that trade happen. Apparently they are very, very close now, but Sean McVay, head coach of the Rams, just totally changed the life of Matthew Stafford, and probably vice versa. Because that was something Sean McVay was viewed as this, boy genius as a head coach, but and a lot of people said going into that Super Bowl, Shannon, had he lost that one, the Super Bowl against the Bengals, he already had gone to a previous Super Bowl and lost. Mm-hmm. And that if he'd have lost this one, he would have started to develop the reputation of, they're good. Kind of like Aaron Rodgers now. Aaron Rodgers Aaron Rodgers is good during the regular season, but he's 7-9 in his last 16 playoff games. So Sean McVay's got to be very, very thrilled with how things worked out as well.
I would think so. And Matthew Stafford, we just listened to that commercial. It starts off by Lily, your favorite, saying to him that while she's out, he's going to be responsible for the trade-in. So perhaps this summer you'll get less of Lily and more Matthew Stafford working at an AT&T store during the offseason.
That could be. That would be, they'd have to go a long way to get me burned out on the Matthew Stafford commercials. Now, you brought up something to Paul Alexander, which makes me shudder. I am not a Cole Beasley fan on multiple levels, and I didn't even think about this. But Paul didn't dwell on it. But as we know, Cole Beasley was released by the Buffalo Bills, a former Dallas Cowboy, a guy who went to SMU, and now he's following the Cowboys again on Twitter. What do you know about this, and what do you think the interest obviously Cole Beasley wants a gig, and he's from SMU and Texas and the Dallas area. He'd probably, if he could choose his team, he'd probably want to go back to the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think the Cowboys would have an interest in bringing Cole Beasley back?
So I get on Twitter yesterday and I see Cole Beasley trending, and before I can click on Cole Beasley for why he's trending, I have something in my inbox from Chris, and it is the official Bills announcement that they have released Cole Beasley, and Chris is ecstatic. But yeah, the thing today is there's quotes from him saying nothing specific, just that he will play for any team that will have him because he still feels like he has that ability to play. And I believe that. I think on the field, he's still that same player that he was in Dallas, that he then ultimately became with the Bills. Given Dallas's cap issues right now, and we got rid of a couple of guys in that position that maybe financially he'd be a decent choice as someone to have. He's we obviously know he can meld well with that team, but given as Coach A mentioned, the COVID circumstances, that it could ultimately be not the best idea going forward. But we'll just have to see how that all turns out. I mean, that's something that no one can really predict. But yeah, we all take to social media these days for our news and to kind of creep and to start, developing our own thoughts and opinions. And a lot of people took notice that he immediately followed the Dallas Cowboys as almost, that just building bridges, one follow at a time, Chris. I don't hate the idea I would hope that, he kind of quieted down after the start of the season. For what reason, I'm not sure. And I know that he still lives in the Texas area in the off season, so I don't think it's too far fetched to think that he may be back in a Dallas Cowboys uniform.
Wow. And I think the reason is his agent and others got to Cole Beasley and said, dude, economically, this is not good for you. And the more that I think about it, and I brought this up with Coach A, Shannon, Carson Wentz vocal about his not getting vaccinated. So ultimately, and again, this is tied to play as well, I know. Ultimately, the Indianapolis Colts move on from Carson Wentz. Cole Beasley may be more vocal than any other player. The Bills release him. Kirk Cousins is one guy who was vocally anti-vax during the height of COVID in the NFL. He's still with the Minnesota Vikings and still making a lot of money. But I think didn't Amari Cooper have a COVID issue as well? Wasn't he out with COVID and unvaccinated? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Jeremy and Jerry Jones are saying yes.
Yeah, and then there was the instance where he went to a Mavericks game and sat courtside unmasked, and so was fined a hefty amount for that by the NFL.
So you wonder, I think all owners look at the bottom line, and as Paul said, they're factoring in a future COVID outbreak on guys that could be a liability if they're going to refuse to get vaccinated. I just wonder, even if the Cowboys saw Cole Beasley as a bargain, that you could pay him a lot less than you would have had to a year ago, and he does already have a receiving relationship with Dak Prescott from earlier. I just wonder if Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones want to do that deal given his history.
No.
Cowboys have
Jeremy, let me ask you.
Things.
Yeah, I know. Jeremy, so let's say we can get Cole Beasley at a great bargain. You can always use a possession wide receiver and a safety blanket for Dak Prescott. Say he comes at a bargain. Do you want to take him back to the Dallas Cowboys?
No.
No, thank you.
And why do you say that?
His tenure. He already had his tenure in Frisco, in Arlington, and we'll always remember his time, as you mentioned, a fine Dallas area product. That he was a hometown kid, but he's had some stuff going on since his time with the Cowboys, and I just think. I think one visit is enough.
Yeah, we are in accord on that. All right, lots more to talk about in the world of sports. We will not only revisit yesterday's upsets in the NCAA tournament, but we will look ahead to today's lineup. We're going to see the Texas Longhorns play today. We're going to see Texas Tech play today. Coach K plays tonight. Sister Jean is going to be in action. First game at 11:15 today. Ohio State versus Loyola of Chicago. It's a big, big day. Day number 2 in the NCAA tournament. We will get into that and a whole lot more. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok makes the show go. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, I haven't seen the spot yet, Anthony. I got to take a look at the Matthew Stafford spot. Yeah, Coach K is tonight, I think. Wow, Gail is ahead of Jeremy. Jeremy, your mom is beating you in the NCAA bracket challenge. That's just, how do you feel about that? Jeremy says there's a lot of basketball left to be played, Gail. That's great, though. I love hearing. Well, I might have to mention that on the radio as we come back here. That's great. All right. Yeah, and if you ever, like during the breaks, if you ever want to unmute and talk to the people, I mean, don't hesitate. So if you want to throw it back at your mom, you could do that. Let's see. No, is that right, Gail? That's a crazy statistic if that's true. That I would not have thought that was true. That's amazing. All right, let's see here. I am going to get some more ice for my iced tea. I'll be back in a sec. I'll give you more Jeremy. All right, I'll be back in a sec. Let's see. How is my... I had to charge my Fitbit. Looks like it's all charged. Woo! Jason says he is tied for first in the bracket. Very cool, Jason. I think I'm up there, but it's deceiving because I have Kentucky going to the Final Four. So obviously I'm going to have many, many losses ahead of me in the bracket. Frank Ramirez, welcome in, Frank. All right, back in a sec. Get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this. Woo!
I'm beginning to believe that other than love and religion, nothing changes in life more than moving your credit score 120 points. I'm John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and CEO of Operation Hope, and we're working to expand and lift up your credit scores. Operation Hope is partnering with major financial institutions to bring hope inside places where you shop and fly. Through the Hope 700 Credit Score Community Initiative, we are helping people with free counseling, loan origination, modifications, and more. Go to OperationHope.org.
I did not see Coach K in the commercial. I got to look for that too. See, if they're going to keep giving us the Lily commercials, if they're mixing them up, and especially in the tournament using athletes, that's cool. Wow. I am tied for first. I better enjoy that. I need to take a screenshot of that before 11 o'clock this morning because I got a feeling it's only going to get worse for me. Certainly when in the next round, I have a guaranteed loss. Because I got Kentucky all the way to the Final Four. That's gonna wreck me. So the people who didn't have Kentucky going as far, Shannon, it's going to benefit her down the line, and anybody else who didn't think as highly of Kentucky as I did. Let's see here. Here we come.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Welcome in. Final half hour of the show. We thank you for hanging out with us. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Kolok, the man who makes the show go. He's your Soundscape Stylist. And Shannon, we learned something about our bracket and about Jeremy during the break on the live video feed. Did you pay any attention to what's going on during the break on the live video feed?
I need to be enlightened. I was in the kitchen.
Jeremy's mom, Gail, is joining us on the live video feed,
Hi,
which
Gail.
she often does, which is cool.
It's awesome.
We love Gail. Welcome, Gail. Gail is leading Jeremy. Gail has after one day, she has a better bracket than Jeremy. Jeremy, all about sports. Jeremy, who, as a reporter and an editor at Oklahoma State University covering sports, now working on this show on AM 1300 The Zone in Austin, Ticket 760 in San Antonio. You would think Jeremy Kolok, Shannon, would be a bracket picking expert, but he is now being schooled by his mom.
Listen, that just shows where Jeremy gets it from, right?
Ooh,
you know,
I like that.
True.
Comes from somewhere.
Good perspective.
Apparently, it comes from mom.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, we got a lot of basketball left to be played here. Not just this weekend, but moving forward in general. Let's see how things shake down.
Well, as Shannon pointed out, and I'm shocked, and Shannon, I'm going to go take a screenshot. Apparently, I'm tied for first place at the moment, which is so misleading because I have Kentucky going to the Final Four. So I'm gonna fall like a rock as we go through each round. I'm going to always take losses wherever Kentucky would have played. So I'm going to go. I have until 11:15 this morning to get a screenshot of myself in first place. It's probably not going to last. Today, though, as I mentioned earlier, and we talked about some very, very big games. You, especially Shannon, and so many of our listeners are Texas Longhorn fans. I'm a fan as well. But Shannon, an alum, an Austinite, totally locked in all the time on all things burnt orange, and they will be in action 3:30 today. Are you gonna watch that game at home, or are you gonna be in a public venue to watch that game at 3:30?
I'll be at home. I have dinner scheduled conveniently after the men's game. I'm gonna have to eat really shovel the food or make sure I'm placed in the restaurant in a place where I'm in front of a TV though, because the Texas women then play Fairfield at 7 to start their tournament bid. And I did fill out a women's bracket. I did favor Texas to go all the way and get some vengeance over the Bears for all of the years that they've had to battle it out against Kim Mulkey. But a huge day for Texas basketball, of course, starts with the men. And I'm feeling a little nervous. I like to look at lines and just to see what Vegas is thinking. That game at Texas versus Virginia Tech opened at -4 in favor of Texas. It now sits at -0.5 point for Texas.
Wow. Well, if St. Peter's can beat Kentucky, which happened yesterday, a 15 beats a 2. I mean, nobody's safe. You would think Texas is a number 6 seed, Virginia Tech a number 11 seed. Remember, Virginia Tech beat Duke in that ACC final. So anything can happen. That's 3:30 this afternoon. That's on TBS. Interestingly, that's in Milwaukee. That's at the Fiserv Forum where the Milwaukee Bucks play. So I'm just, as I look at the schedule today, Shannon and Jeremy, just the first game interesting because of Sister Jean.
Yes.
And I look at my bracket, Shannon, and I picked Loyola of Chicago because of Sister Jean. Yeah, Ohio State's a 7 seed, Loyola Chicago a 10 seed. You would think Ohio State would, win that game, but no, it's like I couldn't go against Sister Jean in that one.
Yeah, and you know what else is doing it for me in that game? I'm a TikTok scroller, and a lot of schools have TikTok, right, for their social media, but specifically Ohio State and Ohio State basketball has a lot of their athletes participating in it more, right? Like on the official page, instead of it being whoever their media coordinator is, like creating videos, they have these athletes doing the dances and doing everything. And then individually, there are a lot of Ohio State basketball players who are very involved and are constantly posting TikToks. I think that's going to get the best. I think they're a little more focused on the clout that being a part of the tournament provides them as far as TikTok views, and therefore will get tripped up by Sister Jean and Loyola.
I think it's a great perspective. I totally agree. We talk a lot about how LeBron James used to always shut down his social media come playoff time, and he's obviously over the years been very, very successful in the playoffs. I think the philosophy behind that and the dynamic behind that makes total sense. I think that's a great angle. Jeremy, Loyola Chicago versus Ohio State, first game today, 11:15 on CBS. Did you pick for or against Sister Jean and Loyola of Chicago?
See, I went with the opposite of y'all because I think Sister Jean is too well known now. Everybody knows about Loyola Chicago, and I bet you there's tons of people that picked them just for the same reasons you did. So I said, no. Everybody's picking them. Everybody knows about them now. I'm going the other way.
Wow.
So I went with Ohio State in that one. And I think, Chris, you were referring to when LeBron goes, he goes silent, radio silent on social media. He calls that 0 Dark 23 mode.
Ooh, okay.
But he didn't do it
0
last
Dark
year,
23.
which is weird. He didn't do it last year.
Yeah, and the Lakers have sucked ever since.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe he knew that they weren't going to have a good outlook.
All right, let's see. Okay, so that the first game is great. It's the first game. We dive right back into it, and you've got Sister Jean. It's Loyola, Chicago, Ohio State. Then you've got Auburn, Jackson State. Yeah, whatever. It should be Auburn easily a 2 against a 15.
It should.
12:45 today.
It should.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Go tell Kentucky about that. 12:45 today on TNT. Number 3 seed Texas Tech in the West region against number 14 Montana State. Any reservations on that for Texas Tech, Shannon?
No, I don't think so. Strength of schedule for Texas Tech is ranked 35th in the country. Montana State 244. I think the Raiders will be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, and Montana State with 7 losses on their schedule, and Texas Tech 9 losses with that brutal gauntlet that was the Big 12. 2:10 this afternoon is what I'm targeting, Shannon, my beloved USC Trojans, a 7 seed in the Midwest region going against the U, Miami. They are a 10 seed. In all probability, the winner of that one will get Auburn. I'm just hoping USC wins one game because I got a feeling they would lose to Auburn. Notre Dame is always interesting. They're on TNT at 3:15. They won their play-in to be the 11 seed in the West region against number 6 Alabama. Of course, 3:30, most everyone, we've talked about it, number 6 Texas against the 11 seed Virginia Tech in the East region from Milwaukee at 3:30. And then tonight, Coach K, who I almost picked to win it all, but I talked myself out of it, Duke against Cal State Fullerton. Again, a number 2 versus a 15. That's in the West region. That'll be on CBS tonight at 6:10. And Houston, the team that Shannon is picking to win it all in the South region tonight on TNT. Houston taking on UAB of Conference USA, a team that plays UTSA quite frequently. So that one will be fun. And I keep blowing off TCU, Shannon. The final game of the night, Seton Hall versus TCU. That's on True TV, 8:57 tip-off tonight. Should we? I guess if they win, if they beat Seton Hall, an 8 versus a 9 seed, TCU a 9 seed, maybe we pay more attention to TCU if they win a game and advance in this tournament.
Maybe, probably not, but maybe.
Yeah.
We can let Mike Taylor
though, if they
follow them.
That's true. That's true.
3, 2, 1.
Yes.
That's Gary Patterson.
Very nice.
Texas' own Gary Patterson now.
Gary Patterson.
Yeah.
That's true. That is, maybe I should change the button from purple to orange on my screen for that drop.
Very nice.
And for all that Gary dropped.
So anything you're looking forward to this weekend, Jeremy, as far as the tournament? We're going to move into the second round tomorrow. Tomorrow and the next day will be round 2 of this tournament. So it's just going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I've noticed that with Oklahoma State not being involved for reasons that don't need to be discussed at this time, it's kind of like way less stressful for me watching this year. Not like I feel like when you're watching the morning games and your team plays later, such as Texas today, like you just have that stress in the back of your mind. Like, I know that we have a game today that actually matters. Like, I'm not just watching Seton Hall play, Western Canadian Tech or whatever. I'm watching games that I actually have to care about and I'm invested in. And since I don't have that this year, I'm just watching as a fan, kind of enjoying not having that stress. And then also not to get lost in the shuffle, of course, but I just wanted to throw out there because you asked what I'm excited for. Tonight, you mentioned it multiple times. The Spurs have a huge game tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans. Huge implications for the postseason, or at least the Spurs trying to get in. So I'll be tuned into that, but I'll have the volume all the way down because I'll, of course, also be tuned in to Bill Schoening down the hall on 1200 WAI, and of course, Chris Duel from the studio here tonight.
Thank you for pimping the Spurs broadcast. Good man. No, and I totally agree, Jeremy and Shannon. This is the Spurs' biggest game of the season. A lot of people, and Shannon, you bring it up a lot, and you should. The number was 28. The over-under on Spurs wins, according to odds makers. They were not expected to go to the postseason. They were not expected to get the number 10 seed or better and get the play-in opportunity. 12 games to go. They're a game and a half behind the New Orleans Pelicans. They're tied with the Portland Trail Blazers, although Spurs percentage points ahead of the Blazers. 5 of their final 12 games against the Blazers and the Pelicans. Pelicans tonight. Pelicans a week from tomorrow night in New Orleans. And I think you can't afford to lose this one, Shannon. If they lose, you're 2.5 back with 11 to play. And with each passing game, the math gets tougher to try to catch the Pelicans. So yeah, I think you got to win this game tonight if you're the Spurs.
Chris, you're bumming me out talking about how high stakes this game is because I was offered tickets yesterday by one of our great bosses. And unfortunately, I had to say I'm unavailable because of going out of town early tomorrow morning, so the turnaround for a late night Spurs game just wasn't going to be in the cards for me. But I'll make sure to tune in frequently to see where the score is. So hopefully they can get a dub over this Pelicans team.
Okay, now you've been holding out on us. You're going out of town tomorrow. Where are you going tomorrow when you go out of town?
Belleville, Texas. Ever heard of it?
Belleville, Texas. I've
It's a
never
great
heard of
meat
Belleville, Texas.
Great meat market there.
Wow. So are you going for the meat? It's like, hey man, there's great meat. There's a great meat market in Belleville, Texas. Let's go.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a stop there just to pick up some summer sausage. But we'll see.
Okay, you seem to be a little elusive here. So what is the what's the mission on this trip? What's the objective?
Some personal family matters.
Okay.
Yeah, but there'll be a lot of basketball consumed. But yeah, Belleville. It's a great place. I really like it.
Are you gonna visit the historic Austin County Jail Museum in Belleville?
You know what? Last time I was there, we drove around it, and I was shown that's what it is. But was kind of told it's not really worth the price of admission.
No. Now, Jeremy, did you know that off the top of your head, or did you Google that?
I had to Google Belleville.
Oh my gosh, this guy knows everything about Texas. Very, very cool. So, all right. Well, a big weekend is ahead of us. A lot of, hopefully, when we reconvene on Monday, Shannon, hopefully the Texas Longhorns will still be alive. I have no hope. I got a little hope. I don't think USC is going to get past Auburn. They would have to win today against Miami. Maybe they do that. But I don't think my beloved Trojans will be alive. And we'll see who's on top of the heap with our bracket extravaganza on Monday as well. And we probably know where Deshaun Watson is going to be playing quarterback next year, New Orleans or Atlanta. And Carlos Correa, do you have a gut feeling, Shannon, about where Carlos Correa winds up?
My gut right now is with Houston, for better or for worse.
God, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And Jeremy, I'm going to pull for your mom. I hope your mom continues to school you in this bracket challenge. I'm pulling for Gail in this. Nothing personal. I just,
No, that's fine. I'll remember that.
It'll be fun. And plus, we'll give you a hard time for it as long as it happens. All right, Shannon, great job. Have a great weekend. Have a great trip, and we'll see you on Monday.
All right, we'll do it. Hook 'em.
Jeremy, hook 'em. Jeremy, farewell until Monday.
Yes, sir.
Spurs, go.
I'll see you on Sunday for the Spurs game. But
that's right.
Yeah, go Spurs, go. Big one tonight.
Jeremy's going to run the Spurs game on Sunday. Totally forgot about that. I'll see Jeremy Sunday. We'll see you on Monday. Adios, amigos. You said it. So thank you for that. That'll be fun. Thank you, Gail. Keep on keeping on. I hope you win the tournament. Jason, we'll see you. Sam Tobias, Anthony Del Toro, Pablo Perez. Anybody else in here? We'll see you later. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all the basketball and the sports. I'll be on Spurs React tonight. Hopefully the Spurs win. Got one more comment. Thank you, Jason. And Jesse Bratton, you have the final word. Go Spurs, go. Yeah, we do video like this of the Spurs React show. Wherever you're watching this, I just push it out on every channel. And I add WOAI, obviously, because we're on their channel over the air. So probably about 10:15 tonight for Spurs React. Hopefully a Spurs victory we're celebrating. Have a great weekend. We'll see you